do I do?
It's going to be fine, I promise.
But how? After the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade and abolished the national right to abortion in 2022, Texas fully prohibited abortion already from conception. And according to this birth control, I'm already in week 7.
We'll have to find a solution. I think we'll have to get you out of the state, or at least we'll have to get you to a professional clinic. According to the WHO, unsafe abortions is the 3rd leading cause of maternal death, and we do not want you to die.
Oh my god, but how will I get the money to go across state and even manage with school?
Well, actually, I read an article from ABC News that said that 1 in 5 abortion patients travel across borders for abortion care. So I think we'll find a solution. But I think we must get back to class. I think I heard the school bell go.
The girls are now on their way home from school.
God, look over there. It's the Texas side.
I sometimes hate that we're learning this.
Really? Why?
Because of Senate Bill 8.
What's that?
Senate Bill 8, also known as the Texas Heartbeat Act, is a law that passed in 2021. This law bans abortion from when a fatal heartbeat is discovered. So this is probably around 6 weeks, and this is also when most of women doesn't even know that they're pregnant.
Oh, that's from personal experience. Now I really understand why it's unfair.
Yeah, so I also did some research about the exceptions for abortion, and I found this website that says that you can't get an abortion unless you have like a physical threatening condition that could possibly kill your life. And you know that means that even though you get pregnant by either rape or incest, you still have to be pregnant and carry the child.
Oh my god. I really hoping that doesn't happen to me.
What about Senate Bill 8 is a unique enforcement mechanism that basically allows, you know, like civil citizens to file a lawsuit against the person who is pregnant, and the government therefore doesn't necessarily need them to, you know, file a lawsuit against them. So the pregnant woman will herself not be subjected to lawsuits, but because of the strict laws, it will, for example, the taxi driver, the reception staff at the healthcare clinic, moms or family members or friends will therefore have a lawsuit against them because of them, you know, helping the pregnant woman. And you know, in addition, the pregnant woman who files the case, if they win, they will receive, you know, like $10,000 US.
That's crazy. Oh
Mm.
my god.
Yeah.
Does that mean if someone, for example, helps me, will they then go to jail?
Well, I don't know jail, but maybe a fee.
Oh.
Mm.
Oh my god, this is all so expensive. How am I gonna do this? Oh, yes. I see what's on the TV.
Good evening and welcome back to American Channel News. Just recently, Mayor of Casper, Wyoming, Bruce Nell, spoke out about the reopening of Wellspring Abortion Clinic. Nell has supposedly reacted to an article about the reopening with a gif of a man dancing in flames, which he meant had the intention of warning partisans of abortion to either resent or face the eternal flames of hell. Wellspring Health Access is the only remaining abortion clinic in the state of Wyoming and has faced several challenges, including being protested and set on fire. In May 2022, a masked woman obscured by her hoodie and surgical mask broke into the clinic and proceeded to pour gasoline all over the clinic floors. She then lit the whole clinic on fire. As owner and abortion rights activist Julie Burkhart watched her clinic burn to the ground, she has allegedly told New York Times that she thought this would be the end of the clinic, as she was worried that it might lead to the death of either her or her staff. But to her surprise, her staff chose to stay with her, and $300,000 later and almost a year of work, the clinic later reopened. After the passage of the trigger ban, several abortion providers moved their clinics to more liberal states. Ms. Burkhardt refused to retrieve her clinic and pushed on in Wyoming, making her the first person to open an abortion clinic in a state that bans abortion. We have our news reporter Jennifer Smith outside of Wellspring Health Access, so stay tuned to learn more about the abortion clinic. Over to you, Jennifer.
Thank you, Claire. I'm now outside Wellspring Health Access Abortion Clinic in Casper, Wyoming, and I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about the clinic and its origin. In 2020, laureate and director of Chelsea's Fund, Christine Leichenfels, contacted Ms. Burkhardt regarding the need of a new clinic in Wyoming. According to an interview Ms. Burkhardt did with the New York Times, she was already onto this very same idea decades earlier after the assassination of her late boss and mentor George Tiller, who was also an abortion rights activist and ran one of the nation's few clinics providing abortions late into pregnancy. In 2022, the clinic was established, just months before Supreme Court was expected to rule on Roe. In the early stages of Offspring Roe, Wyoming allowed abortion up to week 24 into March 2022. Abortion was banned in the state of Wyoming.
The girls are now on their way out of Texas and soon arriving in Washington.
So I actually did some research and I found out that Roe versus Wade was a case filed by a woman named Norma McCorvey, but we know her as Jane Roe because she decided to disguise herself. So she actually fell pregnant and wanted an abortion, but at the time living in Texas, it was illegal. So she contacted two of her lawyers, and they filed a case alleging that the Texas abortion laws were unconsensual. A special 3-judge court of the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Texas decided to rule in her favor and ended applying to the Supreme Court.
Interesting. Yeah, so I also read about that in January 1973. The U.S. Supreme Court issued a 7-2 decision and recognized that the decision of whether to continue or end the pregnancy should be decided by the individual. As a result of the case, the Supreme Court ended up ruling the Constitution of the United States to protect the right to have an abortion with certain limitations, quickly overturning multiple states' earlier abortion laws. Roe versus Wade sparked heated debate and activism on both sides of the abortion issue.
So I also heard that the ruling stopped numerous abortion laws, as you said, and that it kind of ignited a persistent national debate on the legality and limits of abortion. So a lot of central questions emerged, like what holds authority over abortion's illegality, how do moral and religious belief kind of insert with politics, and additionally, Roe versus Wade kind of influenced decisions on the appropriate methods of constitutional interpretation by the Supreme Court. So, abortion advocates hailed the ruling as a victory for women's rights and reproductive autonomy, while anti-abortion groups mobilized to limit or overturn the ruling. So, despite the controversy, the Supreme Court upheld Roe's central argument in its 1992 decision in Planned Parenthood versus United States. And Casey's overruled Roe's trimester framework and abandoned its strict inception and standard in favor of an undue burden test, kind of.
Yeah, so in June 2022, the Supreme Court overturned Roe and Casey and Dobbs versus Jackson, a women's health organization, in a 5-4 decision, holding that the substantive right to abortion was not deeply rooted in the history or tradition of this country. So in practice, courts have consistently supported various restrictions that impede access to abortion, particularly affecting people of color, immigrants, individuals with low incomes, youth, and those with limited resources. And this sparked a lot of reaction from the people, also leading to a lot of protesting outside the Washington, D.C. Supreme Court.
So I can't believe we made it to Washington.
Finally!
Yeah, it's kind of crazy actually.
Really?
I guess that Plan B thing kind of worked out.
Yeah.
Well, do you hear that noise?
I do.
Yeah, maybe we should go, let's go check it out.
Let's see.
Yeah? Do you see those signs?
Yeah, what are those?
Kind of looks like they're anti-abortionists. Post-Roe! 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 Well, why do you guys not support abortion? Yes?
Yeah. So we are the proud members of SFLA, Students
Yes, sir.
of America. And we mean that every human right begins in the womb. We are therefore here to protect those innocent children from being killed.
Yes.
According to Proverb 31:8, which I quote, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights who all are destitute."
Amen.
Amen.
Although this proverb doesn't necessarily refer to those unborn children, we still have a duty to protect those who cannot speak for themselves, as for now, unborn children. And when women get abortion, the wonderful opportunity of living life gets taken away from them, and we will therefore protect those, and that is our driving force.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With God in our hearts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also stand for the fact that human rights begins in the womb, as you can see on my sign. At only 5 weeks, the embryo starts to develop a heartbeat, and at week 6, the embryo's brain slowly starts to evolve. In my perspective, is this enough to consider an embryo as a human being? And we are therefore committing a murder.
Amen. So at what age did you become aware of the issue of abortion, and like what experiences contributed to your beliefs?
When we were 15 years old, we were volunteering at a pregnancy center over the summer. Before we were able to work, we had to get an insight into what abortion really meant. I remember personally being handed a VHS tape about the silent scream from one of my co-workers, which is a film people usually announce as a propaganda film. But I, however, got a wake-up call from the film, thinking that we thought that.
Why do all these women act okay when thousands of innocent unborn children are being killed?
Amen.
We must do something.
Yes. So after this traumatic experience, we began really getting passionate about anti-abortion. And we thought that about 17 or 18 years ago, we would found a community called Teens for Life. 17 years later, we are still being passionate about the anti-abortion fight. And we will keep on fighting for the rest of our lives.
Yes,
Amen.
we will.
Yes. Oh, well, look at those guys. It kind of seems like they're protesting as well. Should we go ask?
Check it out.
Yeah.
Are you guys pro-choice?
Yes, we are.
Could you guys maybe explain why?
I'm here today because I believe in women's right to decide what to do with their own bodies. The bodily anatomy states that the decision about what someone wants to do with their body is theirs alone. This clearly stated in the human rights law. Therefore, denying someone an abortion is literally equivalent to denying someone human rights.
I am here today to fight for women's right to healthcare, because that's what abortion is, healthcare. What the abortion abolishers do not understand is that banning abortion does not decrease the amount of abortion procedures. It only endangers the people requiring abortions, forcing them to seek unsafe abortions. According to Amnesty International's, evidence shows that abortion rates are higher in countries where there is limited access to contraception. So by abolishing abortion, we do not decrease the number of abortions per year. We actually increase them, as well as depriving women of healthcare, because that's what abortion is, healthcare.
I traveled all the way from Massachusetts. I was introduced to the topic by a friend of mine that attends MIT. We are both undergraduate students in chemistry, and one day while studying, the aspect of abortion became topic. She argued that giving women more options in the subject of abortion puts women on more equal foot to men, and I fully support that statement. The right to abortion is necessary for gender equality.